order the Public Works Services Committee meeting for August 27th. Join me in prayer. Our most gracious and heavenly Father, we come to you and we thank you and we praise you, Lord, for who you are. Thank you for the many blessings that you bestowed on this county and each and every one of us. Lord, we know there's people that are going through trials and tough times. Lord, we just come up to you. Lord, give them comfort in whatever. Lord, I ask you to be a member of our staff and employees, that we have protection on them. Thank you and praise you for all these.
Amen.
Join us for the pledge.
Flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Three members present this morning. So, y'all had a chance to review the previous meeting minutes, if you will.
Motion to accept. Second, sir.
Johnson, are we?
I believe we're good to go with this one, Mr. Chairman.
Presentations that I'm go right down to 8 and
Thank you, sir. Having a little trouble with mine this morning, my computer acting up, but I'm going to have to go by memory here. First one I have for you is the granting of an underground easement for the Grovetown Library, Georgia Power. This is to bring power into the library, and staff has recommended approval.
Move to consent. Second.
Next one I have for you is the Lakeside Park Change Order Directive 2. While we were, Georgia Power has a contract to install the sports lighting out there. They ran into rock in 3 of the holes. They provided a cost of a little over $30,000 to go through that rock. So we talked to our contractor doing our work for us. They agreed to do it for a not to exceed amount of $14,500. So less than half of the price, letting the site contractor do it. We are reaching out to Georgia Power asking for a deduct on their work, since there's 3 holes they're not having to drill. Could save some money there.
Can you get 30,000 from them?
That'd be nice. The staff's recommend approval of that change order for Lakeside Park.
Move to consent, sir. Second.
Next one we have for you is a motor grader for roads and bridges. So I've worked with Nick Hayes at Fleet. He's gone out and got quotes off a state contract. He's looked at Caterpillar and John Deere. Those are the 2 machines that staff felt comfortable with purchasing of. We did get a purchase price to include a 7-year, 7,000-hour extended warranty from Yancey Brothers in the amount of $124,500. Staff has recommended approval of that from the what contract that was from.
so on the John Deere, I'd include the one 5, I believe.
I think that was prior to the warranty being added, but Nickel.
Yes, sir. If you look at the 2 quotes, the John Deere included the quote to the side, so you had to add the quote back. The Caterpillar included the warranty in the quote itself.
This a brand new piece of equipment? Well, obviously it's new.
It's a replacement. We're actually getting rid of 2, I believe. 2. We're going to actually get rid of 2 motor graders and go with this one new one, so we're downsizing the fleet.
Sell those 2.
Yeah.
Place the 2 for 1. Need.
Well, Tim can talk to it. Tim was the one, but I believe one of them's, come on, Tim, you talk.
Come on, Tim.
No, we don't like have all those dirt roads out there, and I hope we're saying that we're down on the dirt roads and we don't need the motor grader.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Tim.
We're down to 30 miles of dirt road within our county now. We scrape every other week. Routes is where we can scrape for 5 days. That operator will work with our special projects crew or with our asphalt crew, and then next week he'll go back to scraping a route. 30 miles of road, so that one motor grader, we will actually have 2. We'll have a John Deere, and with this have the cat motor grader. Placing, sorry, give me just a second, I can tell you here. Placing a surplus in a 1992 12G cat motor grader and this 2013 Volvo motor grader. That's the one we've had problems out of, this new Volvo. It has been down like 451 with different mechanical issues at a total of $35,000 of repair cost on that.
Sounds like we got our goodie out of the first one.
Yes, sir, now the cats, that older one, I mean, you can get on it now and go with it. Kind of use it as a backup.
Thank you for that.
Just for a reference point too, Nick and I were looking, this price is, we're, kind of flabbergasted that price to buy a brand new cat. We found used cats that are 3 or 4 years old for more than this for sale. So this price is incredible.
Both these quotes come from Yancey.
One's from Yancey and one's from Blanchard. Blanchard? Blanchard Cat and I mean Yancey and sorry.
Spencer.
Stumbling over, not buying a John Deere.
But that motor grader's not made here. Just don't make the motor graders in this town, but.
So,
I would say that we do not, in our procurement process, have a local preference policy.
I know that.
I'll second.
Go.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, sir.
Callaway, I want to thank you and your staff for the work y'all have done this summer and hot out there, and that grass is growing, man, like it grows overnight. Once y'all cut it, that bahia shoots up about 6 inches the next night, and I know y'all get a lot of flack and all because of the grass on the roads, but I think y'all do a fantastic job, and I appreciate it.
I agree, very much so.
Thank y'all.
Item, Mr. Clay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have for your consideration an engineering proposal from Term C Engineering for, to do some rehab work to our number 2 clarifier at our Crawford Creek plant, as well as to replace our bar screen and grit structure out there. We've continued to do a little bit of work on these wastewater plants as time goes along. That keeps them from totally dilapidating on you. In this particular clarifier, back in the late 90s, the state in their infinite wisdom thought that we needed to get rid of this minute amount of copper, so we ended up having to take all the guts out of this clarifier and using it for a settling basin, which we did, and only for 5 years later for me to convince the EPD that we didn't have Atlantic salmon in our streams. And so they took the copper limit off. So now we're back to replacing the innards working mechanism. This is a part of our budget, operating budget for this year. They have based their fee on 7.4% of construction costs, but we recommend approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved.
Next for your consideration, the purchase of a Vector sewer cleaning machine. And we've received pricing on the purchase of this sewer machine through Environmental Products Group, formerly NJPA, in the amount of $407,706. Was a budgeted item at $430,000. That's a nice piece of equipment, ain't it?
Very much so. Is this replacing one? Is this?
You know, for transparency's purposes, it is a replacement for day-to-day operation. These are such specialized pieces of equipment. It is our hope to take the old one, get it working as best we can, to use it as a backup, as a, maybe go out and do some potholing with. You just don't come along every day. I think the one we're replacing is like 15 years old. So it would be ashamed to get rid of it. It's such a specialized, pricey piece of equipment, but it will not be on the road on a day-to-day purpose. So yes, to that degree, it is a replacement. Could you drive through our yard and see that old one sitting over there? Maybe so. Just depends on what kind of shape we can get it in, whether it's worthy of maintaining for a backup piece of equipment.
Mr. Clayton, given the amount, I'm wondering what happens to our world if we don't have this?
Well, then you start having tremendous sewer overflows and fines from the state. And
Telephone calls from constituents.
look, we can get into areas with this machine here and clean those sewers out, and you'll never even know we were there. We jet them out, clean them out, get roots and greases out, suck it up, be gone. You'll never see nothing in the street. No globs, no bobs. And look, you can do it with about 2 guys. You know, where it used to take us a crew of 7 out there with rods and trying to jet, rod those sewers out. And those are days of long ago.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, certainly.
Couple. Delivery time on this unit?
Mark, do you remember what delivery time is?
Are
We
these
can get-
built to suit or built
We
to
can
order?
we can get it faster than a pickup.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one
Praise the Lord, we don't need any pickups.
Ain't the truth.
question. On Freightliner, there was a deduction of $7,000 off of the 407. Is that correct? Or would you rather have the Kenworth versus the Freightliner, or?
Move to consent.
Second, sir.
I would like to mention, Mr. Hayes has been a true asset to us as far as being reliable with his recommendations. He is somebody you can really lean on and trust.
So moved.
Next item for your considerations is the ultraviolet light maintenance agreement with Tempco. This is an annual budget item for us, and this is something we have to do. They have to come in, and not only do they do maintenance every 6 months on our UV systems, they have to quantify and qualify that the multi-joules that these lights put out are up to standard for disinfection reasons. And we have to qualify to the state that those lights are putting out the correct amount of light to provide the proper amount of disinfection. Of course, your bacteria test would tell you that eventually when they started shooting up, but we do require to keep on record those qualifications. So that's a small price to pay for that, and we'd recommend approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved.
This is a good one.
This is a good one, huh?
And this is a good one. So, over here on Morningside Drive, we sit right up on top of the hill right there with 2 5-million-gallon tanks. Great place for them. They serve us really well in the system. That allows us to bring water from our lower system right up there in the heartbeat of that area and shoot water right down that Bel Air corridor during the heat of the summer and right out to the Gateway area. It's a good facility for us. We ran amok with some of our neighbors out there over the years when we've had to drain those tanks because we sometimes are limited on the amount of time we have drained those tanks and get them back in service. So we've been looking on how we could resolve that issue, and we've purchased a piece of property, and then we were looking to build basically a 5-million-gallon retention pond that will allow us to slowly release that water, and yet we could still go do our work. We had a $600,000 budget on it. Took the bid, it came in like 1.2. I said, my goodness, I can't afford 1.2 for a retention pond. So, and talking with Matthew, we got with the low bidder, we got with the engineer, design engineer, and we're all sat down in the room, and between us and the engineer and the contractor, we decided what we could live with, what we might be able to do a little cheaper, a little bit better, and still end up with the same result. And we had some good conversations over that. But at the end of the day, I finally, before we walked out of the room, I said, well, tell me this, what would you charge me for a 3 million gallon pond instead of a 5 million gallon pond? So they did send us back in quotes, the low bidder did, the 5 million was still gonna be a $950,000 arena, and the 3 million would be in the $764,000 arena. Still over budget, but a lot closer. I talked with staff, and in reality, when we have to drain water out of those tanks, unless it was something catastrophic, basically, we pump most of that water out of those tanks, but you get down where you're 2 or 3 feet of water in that tank, you can't pump out. Now, that's still a lot of water, because it's a 5 million gallon tank. But we feel like we can live well with that 3 million gallon tank. And because we've got 2 tanks there now, we could probably take a little more time taking one down without having to be in such a hurry to get it back up than we used to be. So I'm gonna recommend that quote from them at the $764,000 price for the 3 million gallon structure.
Did I hear you say we added property over there? Because I looked on GIS last night and I'm saying, wow, where in the world are we gonna set?
Oh, we've
a
already,
3 million,
we've already purchased property from the Stricklands.
okay, well, I was
Yeah,
wondering how,
property's in hand.
okay, good deal.
Are you sure 3 million's enough? I mean,
Yeah, we really, unless it's something catastrophic, but even then, you always take a chance of something catastrophic happening, and you just can't plan for the end of the world on all occasions. This gives us a mechanism to do normal maintenance in there, be able to drain those tanks down, clean them out, very slowly release that water downstream that should have no effect on anybody downstream any more than a rain shower would. So yes, sir, I had long conversations with staff about this. So I would've rather had the 5 million gallon size, yes, sir, would've. But I think we will be just fine with the 3 million gallon size. And I think for the economy of scale and money, I think you'll be fine.
From what I understand, and this was, but I've heard conversation of it, that we've had issues that kind of flooded those people. Has that been multiple times, or has that just been a couple of times? Or
Twice,
Twice?
happened twice. I guess we've been there 12 years or so, but it does happen. And so, in consideration for our neighbor, we should be able to maintenance those facilities without causing issues with any of our neighbors downstream. That's the bottom line, or that's the way I felt about it.
Are we gonna make any money on 20,000 cubic yards of
Had to
excess?
give it away. Sometimes you get lucky.
Okay.
Sometimes you can move it across the street and, make money on moving it and make money on selling it. But this didn't work out that way this time.
move to consent.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Just make sure you keep that water on Bel Air Road. I'm right down the road there, and make sure we keep those.
Got you covered, buddy.
Proper
Got you
level. Thank
10
you.
million gallons right there, ready to go.
Thank you. I'd like to be able to use it up, sir.
I would like for you to as well.
Any legal items, Mr. Driver? Staff reports?
Half of your consideration, our year-to-date budget reports, look fine, right in line with where you would want to be for 1 month expenditure in the budget. Sales up a little bit above normal, but we're in the middle of the summer and it'll be down in the winter, so that all evens out. Then for your consideration, the construction projects that we have underway, and again, anything in red's had some kind of activity in the last 30 days.
I've been on Cleary Cut Road.
Yes, sir. We've had activity in the last 30 days. We've been purchasing material, marking where things are gonna go, and we may be out there actually moving some dirt today.
So they can move it, be moving mud if they're working right now. Still on,
We're breakneck speed.
Have all our letters gone out to those folks there?
It has.
They have.
Response is due back the day after Labor Day.
Okay.
We've already gotten a few back.
All right, any commissioners or public comment?
push them onto the full board.
Second.
We are adjourned at 50.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton.
There's some
It is 8:54. We'll convene Community and Emergency Services Committee. We still have God and country, and Mr. Duncan is back now. We have a minutes of the previous meeting. Have a motion to accept those, gentlemen?
Second.
So moved. Mr. Johnson, are we good with the agenda, sir?
I believe so, Mr. Chairman.
Any presentations? Being none, nothing on consent agenda, we'll move right to debate agenda.
First item for your consideration is a service agreement with Fire 5K. The run that's being put on, they've submitted the proper paperwork, and you can see the commissioners have allocated funding for this. Total allocation is $2,000, and staff recommends approval.
Second.
So moved.
This item is for this year's LibTech library grant for public technology use in the total amount of $56,779.81. Staff recommends approval.
Second.
So moved.
We have two animal services donations today. One first in the amount of $1,500 from Kathy Anderson. Staff recommends approval.
Second.
Very nice donation there.
Thank you.
Second in the amount of $100 from the Sunday school class of Wesley United Methodist Church in memory of Joe Harity.
Second.
So moved.
This is a high school fishing qualifier event. We hosted in conjunction with the CVB earlier this summer a very successful state high school fishing tournament event, and also in conjunction with Greenbrier High School. So we've put a little more of a focus on high school fishing events. They bring more people to town, more people in hotels than the strictly adult events. So we'd like to enter into another agreement with Real Money Team Trail and Wesley Meadows for a qualifying event this March. Staff recommends approval.
Pat?
Second.
So moved.
BrainFuse online tutoring, we would like to enter into an agreement with BrainFuse for several services at the library. First and foremost is online tutoring for students to receive help. There's online career assistance through JobNow. There's veteran assistance through VetNow. BrainFuse was the only vendor that offers all of those together. There are other vendors that offer online tutoring in itself, to my understanding. Library staff has researched for a year or two now these options. This was put in this year's FY20 budget to enter into this contract, so we'd like to recommend approval in the amount of $12,000.
Move to consent.
Second was a question. So this is our first year involved with this?
Correct.
Okay.
So moved.
American Cornhole, you may be familiar with our the Cornhole National Qualifier that we hosted last year. We'd like to bring that back again. It was sort of successful. It didn't quite hit the numbers we wanted to, but in year one, we think we had enough to build off of to give it another shot this year. So we're going to do some more things to help try to draw in more people in teams this year. We've even added an additional date in Sunday to try to push more hotel rooms, not just a Friday, Saturday. So we work with Shelley and the CVB very closely on this event, and we'd like to give it another shot in year two. Staff recommends approval.
Pat with a question.
Second, with amazement that there's actually a governing body. Cornhole.
It's on ESPN now, so not ESPN Ocho.
Called Desperation. Sorry,
The special offer, say $500 by September the 20th. Is that something we would do? Or
Yeah, we should be able to pay it all up front and save that.
So moved.
Board appointment for Animal Services. Staff recommends the appointment of Sarah McAvoy to the Animal Services Board.
Yeah.
Second.
So moved. Next, we have Fire and Emergency Services. Chief?
First item is a request to purchase a new dive boat from Lincoln and Marine, $50,000 budget. Procurement did a bid process. Lincoln and Marine put in for it at $46,015. Is a replacement. We are dive boats, and staff recommend approval.
Yeah.
Second.
So moved. Next item. Is that yours, Mr. Johnson? The grant fund?
I can take it unless, Jeremy, you want, I'll take it.
Okay.
This is the 2019 Group Self-Insurance Workers' Compensation Fund, the safety grant. We've been awarded the $5,000 from ACCG's Workers' Compensation Fund in the grant program. So this allows for additional ballistic vest helmets, things like that for our rescue task force teams. Staff recommend approval.
Second.
So moved.
The last item is a request to purchase 2 Chevy Tahoe SSV vehicles. So replacements is the item. I'll be replacing a 2006 Ford Expedition and a Taurus, yes.
Assume we sell them on the Go deals?
Yes, sir. Staff would recommend approval.
Yeah.
Second.
So moved. All right, Mr. Driver, do we have any legal matters? Always nice to hear. All right, staff reports.
For your information, the year-to-date, last month's run summary, and our current budget.
Commissioners have any comments or questions on this?
Questions?
Do you have any public comments?
Russell, it's good to see you again. We missed you.
Russell's a steady public figure.
Uh-huh.
All right, nothing for executive session? And gentlemen have any other motions?
Motion will adjourn.
Second.
So moved, we are concluded. 9:01. Well, finally somebody gets